Hi book lovers, and welcome or welcome back to a new video. It's the end of a month. Actually, the month has already ended, and you know what that means. We're going to talk about all the books that I read in said month. So this is going to be my May wrap up. Crazy to think that we're already kind of like halfway through the year. Like, how fast have we come to this point? Anyway, before I go into each book, and I did it vlog style again, so we're going back to the beginning of the month where I read the first book, and I kind of take you through my May reads that way. But before we do that, as always, I love to talk about the statistics as well. So I'll put them up on the screen because I actually haven't like figured them all out yet, but you'll see them on the screen. I know that I read kind of 8 books, and I'm saying kind of because the last one I haven't finished yet, but I have like 80 pages to go, and for me I'm considering it a May read because I'm probably gonna finish it tonight. But I wanted to film this and get it up for you guys, so you see me sit here at the very end of this video because that's gonna be the last book I talk about. Also, How Rude is the Sun? Wait a second. Okay, actually I don't know if this is better because now I can't see anything. I think this is the best we're gonna get for now. Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, so statistics. I read 8 books, that equivalent to that amount of pages, and I had an interesting reading month because I had very disappointing reads, but also kind of good one. I mean, I'm still here and trying to find my 5-star read, and wait until the end. That's all I'm gonna say right now. But in the statistics you can see my average rating. Then you can also see I read a few different genres. What I'm also very proud of is that I read 5 out of the 6 books from my monthly TBR, and that is definitely a win for me. But let's go back to past me and talk about the first few reads from the month. So we're actually not right at the beginning of May, but already sort of through mid-May. And the first books that I finished this month are actually books that I was supposed to finish in April, but here we are. And it's all the new releases that I read for my reading vlog. So I'm actually not gonna say a lot because I've got a whole reading vlog on these 3 books, and I will leave it down in the info box. But the first one that I finished is Fearless by Lauren Roberts. I took the dust jacket off, but I think this is actually so beautiful with the pink. And this is the final and very highly anticipated book to the Powerless universe, and I was so excited for this book. I don't know if it was because I was also just very stressed in like my work and personal life that I don't know, just didn't have the capacity to read, and it took me quite a while to get through the book. I think it was very well written and I loved a lot about this book. However, I do think that this book, or to be honest, the whole series kind of lost its momentum after the first book. I think there was so much build up in the first book of also just like plot lines that weren't really continued in the other 2 books. And I kind of wish we just, would have went a different route with the plot. I kind of think that this was almost like a replica of the first book. And also romance-wise, I mean, the romance was established in book 3 already, and I think the obstacles that we had in this book therefore were kind of a bit unnecessary. Like, either give us like a real struggle or give us, you know, the couple content we want. I don't know. I still enjoyed it and I still loved our characters, but I definitely expected a bit more. However, you know, this is Lauren Roberts' like first fantasy trilogy. I am so excited for everything she's gonna come out with next. And again, if you want to see more of my thoughts, go and watch the reading vlog. I gave this 3.75 stars. Next up, I read Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry, and Emily Henry did it again. This was a fantastic read. Honestly, this is more like general fiction with a romance plot line, and I think it was very beautiful. We've got 2 writers who compete for writing the memoir of this old lady who had this amazing, thrilling lifestyle. She is an heiress and has just a very rich family and also family history, and she hasn't been in spotlight for decades, and now these 2 writers compete for writing her story. And you also get glimpses of that story and like these interludes almost where they tell her story, and I think it's just very, very beautifully written. I adored this book. It wasn't quite as 5-star feeling, and I think I also just compared it a lot to my feelings with Emily Henry's other books. And this for me felt closest to Beach Read by Emily Henry. I think that I like Beach Read just a little bit more, so I gave this 4.25 stars. This was still such a good read, and the writing is just phenomenal of Emily Henry. Again, more in my reading vlog. And the last book that I read for that reading vlog is King of Envy by Anna Huang, and I didn't really had any expectations towards this book because I didn't really enjoy Anna Huang's latest releases. However, this one surprised me. I gave this 4 stars, and the thing with this book is that I feel like Anna Huang pretty much built her brand now by being this, you know, romance author, and the things that her writing or her books promised, I think that this one really delivered on that. I think this was a lot more going towards dark romance than any of her other books. It kind of reminded me a bit more of the Twisted series, and I like in general the Twisted series more than the King of Envy series. So I think that's why I also enjoyed this a bit more, because the dark romance element like made this a bit different. Overall, this is very much Anna Huang, and I don't think you can like expect anything completely different from her, but that's okay, because if you like Anna Huang, then I think you will enjoy this and you're happy you've got another book in this series. This is about Ayana and Vuk, and Ayana is in a like engagement of convenience with Vuk's best friend, and Vuk doesn't know how to deal with his obsession with Ayana and her being in an engagement, and it gives a very like messy plot. And then on the other hand, there's also like this whole bigger side plot with the darker business that Vuk is dealing with. And also sort of on brand with Anna Huang, this was a very plot-driven book. I personally like when it's more character-driven than plot-driven, but as I said, I did enjoy this book. I probably won't really think about this book long after anymore, but for the time being, I had a good reading experience. So if you want to see more about these 3 books, then also go watch my reading vlog. Let's talk about the next book that I finished for May, and that is Iris Kelly Doesn't Date by Ashley Herring Blake. And I'm sorry, my voice. And I'm so glad that I finished this book, because not only is this also one of the books that I have on my 2025 TBR, but with that I also finished one of the series that I really want to finish this year. I think it's 6 series in total. I'll leave the video for that down below. But this is the final book for the Brides Falls trilogy, which follows a group of female girlfriends, and Iris Kelly was the last one. And I genuinely really enjoy Ashley Herring Blake's writing, and especially characters, because I feel like she just makes messy characters that are at the same time very relatable, and they're definitely not perfect. Like, they do make mistakes, but they also own those mistakes, and they, you know, just have to navigate through life and don't do always the right thing. That's something I really enjoy in her characters, and usually her characters are sort of like puzzle pieces that fit together really well. I feel like this is the first book that I read by her where I think they were very opposites. So definitely an opposites attract book, and I don't know if they were like literally perfect for each other, but our other character, oh my god, what was her name again? Stevie. She actually deals with a lot of anxiety and yeah, just a lot of like mental stuff as well, and I liked the representation of that. I think it really showed that you can still obviously grow as a character, and your, you know, anxieties are not everything you are. Like, there's so much more to a person, and I enjoyed her journey. I think Iris is definitely a female lead that I tend to usually love, the one that is very avoidant of emotions and just doesn't want a relationship, but is also very confident in her sexuality. Like, I loved Iris. And we also had a bit of fake dating here, because they both have a kind of one-night stand that goes terribly wrong, and then they see each other again for this play. Because Stevie told her friends to not be embarrassed that this one-night stand went really well and they're both dating now, they kind of have to pretend that they're dating in front of her friends, and I do love myself a good fake dating story. So overall, I did really enjoy this. I would give this 4 stars, and I think that the fake dating would have been even better if we didn't have almost the one-night stand before that, because both of them know that they're very attracted to each other and they want to do stuff. So I don't know, I just kind of wish that maybe there would have been a bit more of a suspense when it comes to their feelings, but all of that was pretty obvious. But other than that, I really, really enjoyed this, and I would definitely recommend this whole series. Hi everyone, so literally on the go, but I finished my next book and I thought I would just update you quickly. It's The Stopover by T.L. Swan, and this is basically two people meeting on a plane, having a one-night stand while they have a layover or stopover, and then she ends up working for him, or like working in the same company where he's the CEO a year later, and that's how they meet again, and they couldn't forget each other within the year. This book is probably one of the worst books I've read this year, and I'm so sorry for saying this because this was also a gift from one of my book besties, but I'm sorry, these characters, I think the guy is supposed to be in his 30s, and they acted like 16-year-olds, and just, I don't know, so cringe. I think one of the cringiest sentences I've ever read is when he slept with her for the first time, the one-night stand, and said, "Welcome to the Miles High Club," or something like that, and she thought it was about, Mile High because they met on an airplane, but he meant that because his surname is Miles, and ooh, that was so cringe. And this kind of reminded me, like, the dynamic of After. I read the first After book and I watched the movies, and I think it's a horrible franchise. Like, I really, really don't like it, and I don't like when couples fight all the time. And the way they fought was also horrible. Like, he literally called her bitch, and I'm really sad that this didn't work out for me, because I will say that the first few chapters, I thought this would be a great read. Like, the first few chapters made me so excited for it, but the longer it went on and the more they fought, I just thought, oh my god, you're like literally like kids. And I don't think that, for example, the spice or the story, the plot was anything to write home about. And the more I read, the further my rating went, from like maybe starting with a 4-star, then I was like, oh, maybe it's a 3-star, but now I landed on a 1.5 star, because even the third act breakup was so unnecessary. It was, just, this book is just not for me. I mean, it kind of reminded me of like books, from like 2016, that era, but I don't even think that this book is that old, and I can see someone enjoying this. I just want more mature romances, and this wasn't mature in any possible form. I think that the writing is super easy and mindless. I contemplated DNFing this, but I think first because it was a gift and it was easy to read, that's why I didn't. And I'm not super mad that I finished it. I still have one more book that I got gifted in this series, and I think I will give it a go at some point. It's also about the brother that I think I will like a bit more. That's my quick update on the next book I finished in May. Let me update you now on my next read that I finished in May, and that is Stalking Jack the Ripper by Kerri Maniscalco, and this was also part of my May TBR, so I'm glad that I'm kind of slowly making my way through it. Also, I'm sorry, I'm getting ready because I'm going to meet a friend and just putting on some jewelry, but I really wanted to update you because I enjoyed this a lot. I think it took me a little bit to get in. I think also due to the writing style, this reminded me a little bit, I don't know, just a tiny bit of, what is the one, the cozy fantasy, Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia, like the writing. No, we are in first POV, but we're still feeling a little bit detached. But I think it's also due because this plays in the 1900s. I think that the tone is just different from how we would talk now. But overall, I really liked it because I feel like it brought you really back into the 1900s. This book really felt like Enola Holmes, the Netflix TV show, and I enjoy that one so much. And I think if you like that vibe, then this would be for you, because from like the mystery element to how, this girl is different in this age, to the romance, even, like, it really reminded me of that show in the best way. Like, it's not the same, but it's similar. I would definitely continue with this series because I think this has like 4 books in the series, and it's all about the same girl. So she is 17 in this book, And she basically has an interest to help her uncle who, oh, I don't know the word, but he dissects like dead people and helps the police to see why they died. And she's interested in that field as well. And in general, obviously, because it's not like the, you know, most normal, nicest topic in like society, but she's also a girl, and that she even has an interest to work basically is a bit odd in that age. And she also comes from a good family. Her dad, I think, is a lord in this place in London, and you've got these like murders going around, and she wants to help her uncle find out who that is. And then there's also the other sort of assistant in her age, and he's infuriating her, but at the same time he also, you know, is like respecting her that she wants to do that and just accepts her how she is. And I, yeah, really enjoyed the romance in here as well. I would give this book 4 stars, and as I said, I would definitely recommend it, but also continue with this book series. So with that, I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you with my next book that I will finish in May. I'm here to talk about my next book that I finished in May. Actually 2 books, because I started reading Begin Again, but then I listened to this one because I've been driving a lot. So I finished listening to this one, and then actually I also just finished listening to another one. First, let's talk about Begin Again by Hallie Acton, which was also on my May TBR, and I'm glad that I'm taking off these books. I think this is a great book if you're, I don't know, in your 30s, in your 40s, and you're sort of between life choices and I don't want to say you have to have a midlife crisis to read this, but this is just nice because we're following Frankie, and she gets into a little accident where she dies and goes up to heaven, but she actually gets a second chance. And not only that, but she gets to like have 24 hours in her other lives where if she did make a different decision at like some life crossroads, she would have ended up there, and she can experience that for 24 hours and then at the very end decide which of these lives she wants to return to, which I think is a very great concept. And this book kind of feels a bit like, you know, if you yourself think about, oh, do you have some regrets? Do you want to change something about your life? And you would read like a self-help book for that. But instead of reading a self-help book, you read a fictional book that still gives you sort of those like impulses to sort of think about your own life decisions. And that was just really fun because it still felt like a story, but it also made me think about a lot of things. And I think that Frankie, our main character, is in a lot of ways very relatable, but she's also not like the most lovable character. Sometimes she can be annoying, but I think it was also the point of, you know, having a main character like that. One concept that I think just stuck with me was that in heaven this person told her, your life kind of feels like you're standing in quicksand and you don't want to move because every decision that you would make then would be like moving in quicksand and you would just go deeper, but at the same time you're super uncomfortable, and that Frankie's basically comfortably uncomfortable in her life right now, which I think, I don't know, just is relatable. And I really enjoyed this. I think that it was very predictable, like what happened at the end, but it was still nice to see sort of these other life choices. And I also liked the little letter by the author itself that inspired her to write this book. And I think we all sort of have those crossroads where, you know, we feel like we made a major life decision in what direction our life would go in, and sometimes we wonder what would have happened, and also just in general to sort of feel in control of our lives. And I think it was just very nice. As I said, like instead of reading those like self-help books, you just read like a fictional version of that. I would give this a 3.75. Not my absolute favorite, but I definitely recommend this, especially if you want some like woman fictional book. This is not a romance. Hallie Acton is also a British author, so if you enjoy more of that, you know, like British sense of humor, that type of thing, then I think you would also enjoy this. Then the other audiobook that I listened to while I was driving a lot is actually the short story by Frederick Bachman, The Answer is No, which was just a very, you know, delightful short story. And it's basically about this man who just hates people. He is very happy being by himself and he doesn't want contact with anyone, but he moves into this apartment, or he lives in an apartment where he has very noisy neighbors, and yeah, it's like a whole thing. I would be annoyed as well by those neighbors. I don't really rate short stories or novellas, but it was a good one. I really enjoy Frederick Bachman's writing. I think how he puts sometimes like those sentences together and how relatable his characters are is just really incredible. I actually only read one thing by Frederick Bachman, but I think it's one of the best books ever, Bear Town, and I'm very excited to read more by him in the future. Well, and here I am again from Present Me, and I wanted to talk about the last book that, as I said, I'm considering. I've read this in May, even even though I haven't finished it yet. But that is The Friend Zone by Abby Jimenez. And I was excited to read more from Abby Jimenez because I love the Part of Your World trilogy. I think those are one of the best romances out there. It can't really get better than these ones. So this is actually her debut novel, and I just wanted to see how she started. This is about Kristen and Josh, and Kristen thinks that Josh is amazing, maybe even the perfect man. However, there's something she thinks she can't give him, and that's why she wants to keep him at an arm's length and in the friend zone. And they become friends, and there is more, might be even friends with benefits. However, it's hard to fight those feelings. One thing that I really appreciate about Abby Jimenez romances, the problems are not, you know, super fabricated, or you think, oh, just talk about it and it will be easy peasy to solve. I think that the problems the main characters have in her books are very serious, are things a lot of people can maybe relate to, and also important things to sometimes talk about. And the same with this one. Another thing that I noticed that I really enjoyed is the humor. Like, I think this is so funny, and also the main character is not someone I would say is super similar to me, but at the same time I can relate to a lot of things, and I love that. Her men are just also superior, and I don't want to say too much because this I'm actually reading for maybe not even just one reading vlog to keep you on your toes for future videos. So you'll have more of my in-depth thoughts, and obviously I will have finished it in those reading vlogs so I can give you a final rating, because I think this could be a 5-star read. Like, I don't want to say it just yet because I haven't finished it yet, but I definitely get the feeling that this could be a 5-star read, which would be amazing. Like, I only had one 5-star read this year so far. It's not been the best reading year, so I really hope that this one works out. Maybe some more that I'm gonna read for this reading vlog, who knows. Yeah, this was the last book for May. That means thank you so much for watching until this point. And also, wow, I haven't even said that at the beginning. Oh my god, how could I forget? I actually just hit the 1,000 subscribers, and I just wanted to like say a huge thank you. Like, that is incredible. And to everyone who's new here, hi, I'm so excited. I hope you're gonna stay for a while. You can always leave like video ideas or whatever you want to see in the comments. And also to everyone who's been here for a bit longer, like, thank you so much for your support. And I also love hearing from you, and I always enjoy your comments and just connecting to you guys so much. So yeah, just a huge thank you, and it does mean a lot for like a little creator here to subscribe. So if you haven't subscribed yet, then please do for more bookish content in the future. Also give this video a like, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!